working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
All right, good morning, Jonesboro and surrounding areas. Today is Tuesday, yes, October 25th, and thank you for joining Community Conversations. I have a special guest with me today, Mr. Terry Keith Sharp, but would you prefer me to just call you Mr. Keith?
Keith is fine.
Keith is fine, okay. Well, thank you so much, Keith, for joining us today. He is running for Alderman, Ward 1, Position 1.
2.
Position 2, I am so sorry. I got that wrong. Ward 1, Position 2. Okay, so let's get right into it. First, let's tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and then lead into what made you decide to run for this position.
Okay. I was born here in Jonesboro, although I have lived in Memphis for a short stint and graduated from a place called Whitehall down by Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I moved back when I graduated high school, and I'm married. I have 2 kids. One is in college at ASU now, and the other is a senior at Jonesboro High School.
Okay.
My wife currently works at the coffee shop across the town. I won't say the name.
Okay. Yeah, we can't give any promotion.
And can I say where I work then?
Yes,
okay.
You can.
I work at J&T Dive Shop part-time, and then which is a family business. We've been in business for 43 years, starting in April.
Okay.
And I work nights at High Troll Conveyor.
All right. Alrighty, so what made you decide to want to run for this position?
I really mainly got aggravated last year at 2 special elections.
Okay.
I knew we had to have one to replace the alderman that was leaving his office, but the other I felt was very unneeded. It was something that could have waited until we had a general election, which we have coming up this year, for sales tax and then the property code. I was against the property code from word go. I've been ticketed by the code enforcement to the point that I've got $240 in fines and got slapped with 40 hours of community service. So all for tall grass. So it hit home. I'm like a lot of people out there. I work and I pay my bills, and I work some more and I pay my bills. So it's tough whenever you get levied with that kind of fine. So
do you think it was the language of the property maintenance code that was probably tripping some people up or getting them caught up in this circle of fines and whatnot?
Well, it's part of it was just from when you went to court, you got levied a fine, and then you got community service or whatever, or probation, and so it was that cycle that kept building and kept building. The new property code, or the property maintenance code that they tried to pass, I think, had everybody in uproars because it said international in front of it. We have codes in place now. What we need to do is enforce the ones we have instead of trying to levy new ordinances on the people. There's no need in it. And the way it was written was, it was really going to devastate the elderly and the people who can't afford to paint their house or pour new concrete for a driveway, and the poor. It was really going to be hurtful on those.
Okay. And we've asked this question to, various candidates that have come through. How do you feel about putting back into place some type of community cleanup, clean sweep? I think it was called Operation Clean Sweep at one point.
Yes.
I don't know how much power the council has or influence they have with that, but what would you like to see put in place?
I think that would be great. I know several of the neighborhood associations do that now. I live in one of them. I live in the West End Association.
Okay.
They do a cleanup or a clean sweep kind of thing where you bring everything to one location, and then I'm assuming the city comes and picks it all up from that point. Years ago, when we had the clean sweep throughout Jonesboro, you had a week or 2 weeks in your trash pickup zone, and to bring everything out to the front curb, and then the city would come by and pick it up and haul it off for free. The problem that I've heard, and I've never actually saw this with my own eyes, but the problem that I heard was that 2 or 3 weeks after the fact, the properties would look just like they did beforehand after the clean sweep. I don't know what the right answer is for that.
This of Arkansas Minority Council, Advocacy Council, and Kelly Kay does not support or endorse any candidate. There was no compensation given for this interview, and this interview is provided for educational purposes only. So I have to get that disclaimer out. I apologize for
not a problem.
not doing the beginning. So okay, well, let's move on to some other topics. Have you had a chance to actually meet with some of the constituents and hear some of their concerns about what they would like to see changed or just done better within the ward itself or the city?
A lot of the people that live in the ward that I live in, they were like-minded as far as the two special elections that we had. They saw it as, especially one of them being unneeded, it was a waste of money. I've been told in upwards of between $80,000 and $120,000 is what the city spent on a special election.
Oh my.
Now, keep that in mind for the dog park lovers out there. That was enough to put in their dog park.
Okay.
Now, whether you want it or not, I'm still saying there was lots of areas where the city has wasted money, in my opinion. The other concerns, obviously, are going to be the streets. Especially on my end of town, there's several streets in disrepair. I live on one of them.
Okay.
Now, I'm not trying to move a special agenda for myself and get my road repaved or anything, but it is a main thoroughfare and it probably needs some attention, and it hasn't had any in several years. So.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about money, let's go into the budget. Okay. Of course, to get anything done, it's going to take some money.
Right.
And from my understanding, yes, the city has a surplus, but you can't just dip into it anytime you want, because then it eventually starts dwindling down,
right.
And then you're losing money for other programs or something else that may come up as an emergency.
Right.
So concerning street repairs, you mentioned the dog park. Is the dog park is it actually coming to fruition?
The people who are backing the dog park are doing it on their own.
Okay.
I believe the city is giving the property or designating a piece of property,
Okay.
And then the people, the dog park lovers, I think is what it's called on Facebook, they are actually coming up with the money to build up the fence and that kind of thing. So the city's not going to be out any money on it. So.
Well, minus that, the roads and other projects, concerning the budget, what is your proposal? What are your thoughts on, how can we keep the budget where it is, or balance it better, or find ways to increase so that we're not overspending and dipping into the surplus?
I think you have to stop dipping into the surplus. First off. We've done so with the raises, and I'm not going to say that the raises weren't needed. I believe the police department got the raise they deserved, and I believe the fire department got the one they deserve, along with the ununiformed or non-uniformed employees. There were some raises passed last year that, by my understanding, went mainly to the city hall. It didn't trickle down a whole lot down to the other employees. I'll come out and say it. I don't think we needed to buy a brand new SUV this year. I know that was $50,000 or $60,000. That's a drop in the bucket when it comes to paving a road or anything, but still, it's another $50,000 or $60,000.
Okay.
I think there's some places in the budget that we can cut some spending. The police and fire department have always done a real good job. They've turned back money, which the police department raise that they got initially, it has come out of what they turned back last year. They turned back a little over $700,000. Their raises equated to about $685,000. So.
Okay. So the city's not technically out of that money, but in say 5 to 10 years down the road,
right?
I'm hoping that someone did some long-term projections to say, okay, well we're improving this, we're increasing their pay now, and also they're trying not to call it raises.
Right.
From what I've been reading, it's considered a step
right.
program.
Right.
Basically, so they're now getting paid what they were supposed to already be getting paid compared to other cities in comparable size population to
right.
ours.
Right. The one side of that, though, is you have to, they always compare us to Conway and Springfield, I believe. And if you add the two towns together size-wise, as in mileage-wise, the two of those towns equate to what Jonesboro is. We're about 80 or 85 square miles in Jonesboro. They're about 40 apiece, give or take a little bit. So they've got less area to cover, so automatically we're money on the same coverage area. So.
Okay. I do want to let you all know, those of you that are listening and watching, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you have any questions, please leave your comments on there, or you can call the station. The phone lines are open, 870-277-1080. Again, that is 870-277-1080. And we're speaking with Mr. Terry Keith Sharp, or Keith Sharp, running for Alderman Ward 1, Position 2. So if you have any questions or comments, or just want to give a shout out to Mr. Keith, please give us a call. Okay, so what are some other topics that the residents have expressed concern to you about?
Crime is always a big thing. Some years ago they got a grant. The city got a grant from the Fed, and they put together a COPS program where they built, or they didn't really build, but they put in some substations in high crime prone areas. I'd like to see something like that come back, even if there's not some federal funding there. I'm sure we can find a way to put something in place. Being a past pizza delivery driver in that area over in Apartment City, what we call Apartment City, you could use a police station over there.
At one point, there was one on Marshall and Belt, and I know now that piece of property, or that building, part of that building is now being operated by SU. And I live over in that neighborhood, and I would love to see more police presence, I guess you say.
Yes.
Every now and then I see police riding the streets, driving like each street, and that's wonderful. But again, substation, and that was mentioned by someone earlier in the week, last week, that we have the stations in place, but they're not fully staffed or operational right now. So that would be wonderful. And the children need to see more police presence. They need to not be afraid of the police. They need to the police are there to really protect and serve them. So they need to get to know get to know the officer's face, name, and build that relationship and rapport with them. So
I agree.
So what are some ways that you would propose to try to help that situation?
Well, I know we're short-staffed as far as police, but anytime you spend money to train new officers, you're spending a lot of money out of the city budget. And that's part of the reason they wanted the STEP plan, was to help retain the people that they were training. That seemed to be the biggest problem, was we would train a police officer and they'd stay a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was, and then they would find a better paying job somewhere else.
Okay.
The STEP plan is to help keep those people here in town. It's also going to be a recruiting tool, so that we can be more competitive with the smaller outlying towns around, so that we can draw in more officers, more trained officers and experienced officers, instead of just fresh out of the school rookies or anything. So.
Okay. And how would you feel about possibly enticing retired officers, or those that maybe only want to work part-time, or reserve officers? Would that be something that they could do?
The reserve officers are a great idea. I don't think they get to, I know they have to patrol. I think it's 8 hours in the city.
Okay.
I don't think they get to or have the opportunity to patrol enough. Maybe if the opportunity was expanded a little bit, I think it'd be a good idea. But the ultimate answer is to get the community involved.
Okay.
People like yourself who want to be involved with the community around you and want to make your area and neighborhood better. It's going to take you, the citizen, and me, the citizen, to get involved with the neighborhood we live in. So.
Okay. Now, if you are elected to your position that you're running for, would you try to host more or regular town hall type meetings with the residents, get them more involved in the process of how the city government works, or just help them get their voices heard?
Definitely. Like I said before, I don't have a secret I'm trying to deal. I wanted to get involved, and I want to be the voice of the people that live in my ward. Now, I said I was totally against the maintenance code, and I am personally.
Okay.
If the people in my ward told me that they wanted me to vote for it, then I would vote for it. I'm not going to push my opinion. It's not my job to push my opinion over on you or anything like that. So you need to listen to the people that live in your area. You're there as an elected representative. You're not there for yourself. And so doing town hall meetings, I think, is a great idea, especially if you can get a church to host a venue or anything like that. I think social media is huge, and I think that's huge to get the young people involved.
Yes.
Without the young people, we're not going to get anything done. I don't believe so. You need to get involved with everything. I do have an Instagram account. As I told you earlier, my daughter set it up, and if elected, I'll get a little more prone on that.
Okay.
But I'm on Facebook and everything, and I plan on having my own Facebook page for just the city council spot, so that people can contact me and be a little more approachable.
Okay. And so we were talking earlier before the show started concerning, what you just brought up about getting children more involved, because at some point they're going to be voting age, and they're going to be the citizens that are living and working and, hopefully being productive members of this community. So how would you feel about, hosting assemblies or, once every 3-4 months or something at the various schools, hosting something to get them more involved and educated, just learning some of the basic terminology of city government?
I think it's a great idea, to get involved with the high schools, especially the high schools, because those are the ones who are just about to be voting age for the most part. But if you started in 10th grade and kind of start trying to educate the students, how the government works locally and statewide, because they need to be involved with the state as well. I think that'd be a fantastic way to go about things. We do have several schools in the area, and so I think it would be, you could hit a lot of lives that way.
Okay. And I do understand, maybe saying that, okay, the city council member, you also have to have a full-time job.
Yes.
So it's not like you have all the time in the world
No.
to just go do school tours and whatever, but as your schedule allows, maybe if it was just you and your other aldermen from your ward, I would just like to see more being done. And I know doing more sometimes takes more money, but not always. I mean, if it's someone that's willing to open their doors and just allow you to have a platform just to speak, I think the children would really enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't think it would cost a ton of money to do anything like that. If the school's providing the venue or the classroom setting or anything like that to invite us to come in and talk, if elected, I don't see a problem with it. And you're right, we all have a full-time job. Some of us full-time and a half-time. So, but still, I work third shift, and I can pretty well set my hours during the day. I can sleep in the morning or in the afternoon, whichever. So I would be all about that.
Okay.
I know the other aldermen, there's a few on the board that are retired.
Okay.
And while they still do things, but I think they could probably find time in their schedule to meet with the students and do that kind of thing.
Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to hold it. For all those out there listening, I'm going to hold all the aldermen to whoever is elected after November the 8th. I'm going to be reaching out to you guys.
Well, since you brought up the date, November 8th, I'll ask everybody for my birthday, which is the 7th, to shower me with their votes. So.
All right. So that is still early voting time. That's Monday, November 7th, Mr. Sharp's birthday. So go to the poll, go early vote, and show him some love.
There you go.
And I'm not trying to endorse him, I'm just repeating what he said. So don't jump down on me, please. Okay, so I don't want to get into too much right now because we're going to go to a break in about a minute and a half. But I do want to throw some topics out there that we can discuss coming back after the break. Okay, we talked a little bit about the streets, and a big topic has always been the flooding issue, and then traffic is now being a big issue. We have convention centers, one that's in the process of being built, one that's, I don't know where the final plans are on it, the one for ASU. So again, this goes in with budget, but also ties into increased traffic, more road repairs. And so I want to get your thoughts and views on how the council can help. How do you feel about these different venues coming into town overall? And then we usually have a caller that calls in and asks about the jet system. To see. Her thing is she loves the jets, and I actually utilize the paratransit service. So expanded times during the day, and possibly extended service on the weekend. So flooding, jets, convention centers,
Okay.
and the overall quality of life of Jonesboro. So those are some topics I want you to be thinking about.
Okay.
And we're going to get ready to take a quick break. So you're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We're speaking with Mr. Terry Keith Sharp, running for Alderman Ward 1 Position 2. Join us right back in a few moments.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Have you taught your child how to apologize? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. As your child grows up, they'll develop many relationships, but in those relationships, they're bound to make mistakes. That's why it's so important to teach your child what a true apology looks like. So here are some ways to do so. First, teach them that a lack of intent doesn't excuse them from apologizing. Whether your child's actions were purposeful or accidental, be sure they know to apologize no matter what. Second, teach them that a good apology accepts responsibility. Train your child to say, "I was wrong for saying or doing such and such. I apologize." So train them up. And remember, your family first.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook.
St. John Missionary Baptist Church, 308 North Main Street in Jonesboro, is under the direction of Reverend Ted T. Taylor Sr. Worship services are Sundays at 11 o'clock a.m., Sunday school is on Sundays at 9:30 a.m., prayer service is Wednesday nights at 6:30, and Bible class is on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. New St. John also has the Men of Standards Ministries, Outreach Ministry, Choir, Youth Ministry, Dance Ministry, and Missionary Society. www.newstjohn.org. New St. John Missionary Baptist Church on Facebook, 870-932-6915.
Lame excuses and other forms of voter apathy have no place in American democracy. Show that you care, do your duty, and go vote. This is a reminder from Cheryl Underwood Radio.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host for the day, Quabila Harden, and I am speaking with Mr. Terry Keith Sharp, or Mr. Keith. He is running for Alderman Ward 1 Position 2, and so we've been having a really great conversation thus far, and so I brought up some topics that I would like for him to start going into in whatever order you would like to discuss them.
Don't let me pick the order, huh?
Well, I mean, they kind of all tie in together, and they all fall under the budget issue.
Yes.
So let's start with the convention centers.
Okay. So we have two convention centers, and as you said, one of them has started construction. I drove by ASU the other day, and I noticed there's a fence built around where the second one's supposed to be. I've not seen any dirt work done or anything. And you're right. You're talking about probably a tremendous increase of traffic flow. I think they're good things. We've always been a trade center, so I think it's going to draw in more business and more travelers, which in turn causes more road congestion. And so we're going to have some serious issues in the next 2 to 3 years with congestion and road maintenance and that kind of thing. As far as ways to solve that, I think we need to do something with an east side bypass. It's something that's been talked about since I was a kid and hasn't come to fruition yet because it's going to be expensive. There's no doubt about it. I know there's talk of an east side that's going to go down Commerce, I believe is what it is, and it will tie in over at Brooklyn. You'll have to build an overpass over Highland or 18, and then another overpass over the railroad tracks there at Brooklyn so that you get across the train tracks. And you're going to need to see something like that come to fruition here pretty quick.
Okay.
I honestly don't agree with where it's going to be at. I personally think it needs to be a little further out.
Okay.
Because as what happens with any town, when we built the bypass, and the bypass came to town kind of moved towards the bypass.
Okay.
I work on Southwest Drive, and Southwest Drive is blowing up right now.
Yes, it is.
So you're about to see major congestion down there, I believe. So,
Okay.
yeah, look forward to that. I think the East Side Bypass should go a little further out. That way, town can give you a little further room to grow. And I'm not saying we need to go outside the city limits. We just need to go on out towards the edge a little bit. So.
Okay. All right, so do you feel that the city can sustain these two convention centers? Do you feel that getting involved city-wise, basically the revenue, will the city be able to sustain? Do you feel that it was beneficial, a good move?
I would like to have seen one first. I think construction-wise and job-wise, I love both of them. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
To keep a convention center busy, it's going to take a little bit, and that's not so much going to be up to the city to do. That's going to be up to the manager of the convention center to do, because they're the ones that are going to draw in the people to do the conventions there.
Okay.
And I look forward to it, honestly. And yeah, I think Jonesboro can sustain it.
Okay.
It's going to bring a lot of extra revenue to the city, in sales tax and people going out to eat, staying in hotels and that kind of thing. So, I mean, you're going to see money for like the A&P Commission increase, but because they have a hotel tax, and so they get a little piece of that. So that's where that money comes from. The sales tax should go up likewise, because people going out to eat. We're already a trade center. We draw about 250,000 people or so, probably per day, to come down here to shop, go to the hospital, whatever the case may be. So I'll talk with my hands. Sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, I think Jonesboro can sustain it quite well.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the tax word. That's a bad word.
Oh, I know it is.
People. So how would you try to not influence, but encourage, if it came to that, a tax for whatever reason had to be raised, how would you try to get your constituents to understand, okay, this is why we need an increase in taxes?
Okay, let me preface this comment with my personal opinion. Okay, my personal opinion is I do not want to see taxes go up. I work at a small business. Increased sales tax only hurts small business.
Oh.
Period. There's no way to argue with that.
Okay.
Now, if we're going to look at a tax, I do not think that we should do so as a council and pass it and force it upon the people and upon small business. I think it needs to go to the people.
Okay.
The people should always vote on something like that. They should decide if they want to raise sales tax or not. And it shouldn't be a special election.
Okay.
It should be on a general election when you have a high voter turnout already, or higher than a special election turnout, and so you get a good opinion of the people on that. I feel the same way about the millage increases for the schools. I think they should always be on a general election and not special elections. So.
Okay. And I don't think people understand that a millage increase is actually beneficial versus a sales tax, because we want our children to have the best in schools. We want the schools to continue functioning at the same level or higher than they already are. So maybe that'll be something that'll be brought to the table somewhere later down the road.
Right.
But when we say taxes, people kind of get closed off. But I do want to let the people know that there is a level of transparency within the city council, within the city of Jonesboro. You can attend the city council meetings.
Right.
They're every 2 weeks?
Every Tuesday, yes.
Every Tuesday? Okay, so start attending these city council meetings. Go onto the city every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday. And they're usually posted either on the City of Jonesboro's Facebook page or City of Jonesboro's website or in the newspaper. So there's information out there to let you know when the next city council meeting is. And then also something like the opportunity to see what's going on, what's being said, and then you have opportunity after the meetings to read all the paperwork, all the minutes from the meeting. So I just want to encourage all the citizens out there, please become more informed of what's going on in the area that you live in. You know, you have that right. So.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the budget, you can go to the website, you can download the budget, you can see it broke down by department. So, I mean, you can't see every specific little line item in it, but I mean, you can see which, you know, how much money goes to the mayor's office, how much money goes to the police department, the fire department, the street and sanitation department. So, I mean, you can see where your money is going at, and you should know. You should know where it's going.
That's right. Okay, so let's talk about the quality of life in Jonesboro. As we know, and this, I don't know if this is something that the council will have a big influence in, but increasing the quality of life, restoring certain parts of town. Let's just take the north side. I know that you represent Ward 1, which is on a different side of town, but some of the decisions you make will, in essence, affect the whole city.
Correct.
So what are some of your proposals or what your ideas to help revitalize those areas that are less favorable right now?
Okay.
And hopefully to draw more business, economic growth to those areas?
I will preface that comment by saying I don't have all the answers.
Okay.
I'll be honest and admit that real quick. I think talking to the community and trying to draw business to that side of town. My dad and I share a piece of property on that side of town. My dad lives on that side of town. My whole family used to live on that side of town. So, I mean, I have interest on the north side of town as well, not just in my ward. So I would like to see it revitalized, definitely. You know, you've got the crime element on that side of town. You've got a lackluster business over there, although, you know, there has been some new construction on that end of town as of late. And I'd like to see more of that go on. And, you know, I don't know what the right answer is with that particular question.
Okay.
Whether it would be to give I'm sure there's probably some kind of federal assistance. And, you know, I know the city has grant writers, and I'm not talking about the city giving a grant. I'm saying the city has grant writers that have ideas or that have the knowledge of what the grants are available out there, that the public could ask the grant writer in the city to say, okay, I want to build a business on the north side of town. Is there some kind of revitalization grant available from the federal government that could be available? And he could say yes or no and point somebody in the right direction. I think it's going to take a team effort between the people on not necessarily the council, but the people that work for the city and the people that live on that side of town or interested in that side of town to make it change.
Okay, and you brought up, you know, seeking grants, and right now the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative, I think we're kind of getting back in the swing of things. So would this be something that the members of that initiative should or initially try to seek those grants or try to seek those financial opportunities out to help?
From a federal side, definitely.
Okay.
I'm not. Again, I don't think the city should be in the business of giving grants to small business and that kind of thing to move into a particular part of town. The city's job is to you know, maintain growth of the city and draw in large industry.
Okay.
And they do that by tax incentives, usually not by grants. So I don't think the city is financially stable enough to be giving a lot of grants out there. I honestly don't. I know people say that they're very flush with cash, and while that may be true to a small degree, we operate on a very large budget, or what I consider a large budget.
Well, yes, it is.
Yeah, but you know, it takes that budget to make the city operate. So, you know, I think a concerted effort, a team effort from like the agency you just spoke about and the city, like the grant writers, they should get together and see if there's some federal funding or something like that out there, or state funding even, that could help revitalize the north side of town. I know they've used some of that kind of funding on the downtown, so to revitalize the old downtown, which is beautiful, by the way.
It is. Now, right, as of now, we know there's a West End Association, and then there's the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative, would you try to encourage your other aldermen to possibly get the residents more involved? Like, there's nothing on the south side. And I have a friend that lives on the south side, and she would love to see, you know, something take place over there because she has young children.
Right.
And she's concerned the crime has picked up a little bit on the south side.
Right.
And so I know it takes the residents initially to get together and form these committees to help better their neighborhood, but is there something that an alderman can do as well to encourage the residents?
Probably. I think if the alderman got involved with the city group, they could get something started. I live in the West End Association. They do some great things and some things that I'm not real crazy about.
Okay.
I do not attend the meetings because I've never been invited or know when they meet. So, but you know, there's always good and bad with anything, and you know, you have to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good sometimes whenever you do stuff like that. So, but you know, more. And I don't think there has to be a neighborhood association or anything like that to make things happen. It could just be a concerted effort between the people that live in that area.
Okay.
And I'd like to see more of that. You know, when I was a kid, I knew my neighbors. I can't tell you, I know one of my neighbors now, but I don't know all of my neighbors. So
I can tell you 2 neighbors' names of where I live, and it's
Okay.
really sad. Yes, it's like no one looks out for anyone
Right,
anymore, hardly.
right.
So I will, and the city of Jonesboro is a really great place.
I
it's,
agree.
It's family oriented. It's a nice little community. I would love to see us embrace each other more again. So that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Okay, you're listening to Community Conversations on Kelly K 102.5 FM. The phone lines are open. If you have a question or comment for Mr. Sharp, the phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube and leave a comment there. Okay, so let's talk about Jets. Miss Norma usually calls, so I want to make sure you get her question in.
Okay.
And I don't know how much influence the city council has when it comes to making proposals to getting things changed with the Jet system. I have said this from day one when we started doing political interviews. Okay, at the end of each city council meeting, you know, residents have about 5 minutes or so to speak, depending on how many people are there. The less people, more time. However, if enough people express an interest in a particular topic, they could possibly get it put on the agenda so that it can have more time to be discussed. So, concerning the Jet system, are you familiar with how it runs and things of that nature?
A little bit. A little bit.
And so, from what you do know, would you like to see one? Okay, I'm gonna start over. One of the biggest concerns is it doesn't run long enough in the evening. You know, some people get off after 6 or 7 or 8 in the evening, or some people work overnight and they depend on the system. They may can catch it when they go to work at, say, 2 o'clock. Say if they work in a factory.
Right.
They go in at 2 or 3, but when they get off at 11 or 12 or whatever that second shift is, they're having to get another ride home.
Right.
So some would like to see extended hours or overnight time, 24 hours, and then extended service on the weekend. So how do you feel? I know that a big portion of the money comes from federal funding. So how would you go about trying to make proposals, or how do you feel about increasing the service overall?
Well, you know, maybe one way to look at that is maybe not necessarily a whole Jet system. How do I put this? Expansion of the entire Jet system.
Okay.
Let's look at, okay, if you've got a group of people that work second shift, you know, and typically they're off by midnight or whatever, maybe you run an extended route or an extended time on that particular route to get them back to town. But maybe not citywide, because citywide would be very expensive.
Yes.
I do know some of the funding does come from the city. The city helps back up the Jets with some funding. And you know, any increase in transit times are going to increase the amount of funding that has to be put into the Jets. Weekends, I would definitely like to see some extended hours for the weekends. I think it'd be great. But again, you're looking at the funding. look at Friday and Saturday night, maybe not necessarily Sunday night.
Okay.
I think 24 hours would be a little much. Even a lot of your big cities stop buses by midnight.
Okay.
I've been to Orlando several times, and I use their public transit down there, and most of theirs stop by 11 or 11:30.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I can definitely see some advantage there, and I don't know how much influence the city council has with the jet system, but I'm sure they have some,
Okay.
and can make recommendations anyway.
Okay.
But it would have to come down to the funding, because the budget is the big topic right now.
Yes,
So.
it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so let's talk about what influence does the city council have concerning the flooding issue?
Okay, flooding is a bad deal. I had 7 inches of water coming down through my driveway on the last major flood we had here, and I've never ever seen that much water coming across G Street. Okay, but that was a once in a 500 year kind of flood.
Okay.
I mean, it was an enormous amount of rain in a short amount of time, and there's only so much you can do. I mean, you could build a ditch a mile wide, 20 feet deep, and it probably wouldn't accommodate all the water that fell that day. I think the city is doing what it can do as far as the ditches are concerned. They're getting them cleaned out, and every couple of years they have somebody come in and help get them cleaned out so that they can get some flow on down. I think we're having an issue to some degree because we do maintain a paintball park south of town in the county, that the ditch floods out on that end of town.
Okay.
When the city floods or has a lot of rain, I see the water at my paintball park in about 6 to 8, maybe 10 hours. And it'll take 2 or 3 days for the water to get off my park.
Okay.
So it's, I think there's some more to be done county-wise.
Okay.
As far as ditch cleanouts are concerned. And that's a matter of talking to your JPs and the people on the water district. So.
Okay, so the county judge and the JPs
Yeah.
would be the ones to start.
Yeah.
concerning that.
And I think we're doing the right moves with the retention ponds or detention ponds, however you want to look
Okay.
at it. And we probably need a few more of them. I think we're having some issues with some street flooding. We've got some pockets that tend to, accumulate a lot of water, and it makes for some hazardous driving. So.
Yes, it does. Okay, so, well, this time is rolling by us today. We're getting ready for another break. You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm speaking with Mr. Terry Keith Sharp, running for Alderman, Ward 1, Position 2. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and I'm going to let Mr. Sharp tell us, what experience he brings to the table and why you should vote for him. So join us back in a few moments. Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Your number one savings goal is to establish an emergency fund to be touched only in case of unemployment, needed car repairs, or anything else tied to your ability to earn income. Without this fund, which should equal at least 6 months of your living expenses, you'll likely resort to more desperate and costly measures to cope, including using your credit cards and even dipping into your retirement fund. But once you commit to building this fund, what steps should you take? First, automate the process as much as possible. Have at least 10% of your paycheck automatically transferred to your emergency fund every payday. Set a specific savings goal. You need to know how much 6 months of your living expenses is to the penny. Or you can go with half of your annual pre-tax income as a goal. Don't worry about earning interest. The point of the fund is not return on investment, is having ready access to cash in case of emergency. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
KLEK presents A Harvest of Spoken Word, Junior Edition, hosted by Quabila Harden, to be held Saturday, November 19th, 2016 at 6 p.m. Location, Whistle Stop Bistro and Catering, 5435 East Nettleton Avenue. It is $12 with the meal included. This will be open mic, karaoke, dance, comedy, and etc. 18 and under to perform. This is a KLEK fundraiser.
Car Today, 3404 Stadium Boulevard in Jonesboro. Car Today is a buy here, pay here dealership offering Carfax certified pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models with service contracts and financing for most budgets. Inventory and more information is available at neacartoday.com or 870-931-4224.
Experience the joy with Bishop Adrian R. Rogers of Fullness of Joy Church, 3307 Ray Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401.
The key to our representative form of American democracy is the right to vote. When you cast a ballot on Election Day, you make America stronger. Now is the time to register. Election Day will soon be here. Do your part and vote. This is a reminder from Cheryl Underwood Radio.
From the KLEK Community Calendar, there will be a free community group workout every Tuesday and Thursday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Allen Park Community Center on Ray Street. More information is available via Arlesia Baker at 870-275-5173.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to the last leg of Community Conversations. I've been really enjoying my conversation with Mr. Sharp. I hope you have been getting something out of this interview. He is running for Alderman Ward 1 position 2. Again, if you have any questions, this is your last 5 minutes to ask him anything you like. Hopefully we can get your question answered. 870-277-1080. Or you can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. I do have one quick announcement. Tonight, Fall Block Party from 5 to 7 p.m. at the 600 to 700 block of Melrose and Marshall Street. So please go check that out. Food, fun, music for the kids. And KLEK will be out doing a live remote.
And candy.
And candy. Don't forget the candy. Who can resist candy? So Fall Block Party tonight, 5 to 7, Melrose, Marshall Street. So go check that out. And KLEK will be in attendance. Okay, so Mr. Sharp, since we have a few minutes left, I just want to give you the opportunity to express anything that we haven't covered. If you have any rebuttals or if there's been anything that's been said about you that you want to clear up, or just, please tell us and what experience you bring to the table, whatever you would like to express. This is your opportunity.
Okay. The experience I bring to the table is, I've helped manage a small business in town for the last 15 years. I've worked there for 19 years.
Okay.
So I'm used to dealing with the budget. We have to operate in a budget every year when we come around. So, and it's a seasonal business. So it's, I think it kind of runs along with the city. The city's a seasonal kind of idea. So I bring to mind a way to balance the budget, working in hand in hand with the accountants that work for the city. I also was a past local president of the Junior Chamber, or the JCs as they're known by here in town. I'm also past state president and still serve as the advisor for the state of the JCs.
Okay.
So I have some experience in some nonprofit. I'm one of the founding members of the JC Foundation. We feed, typically we raise money and feed the poor for about a week to 10 days, and we do so through our Goodfellows, which you see in the local newspaper, the Jonesboro Sun.
Okay.
So I bring some experience to the table as far as that's concerned. I've managed a small business, I've managed a group of people, and we had a bang-up year the year I was president. So I think I will definitely learn things if elected to the city council. I think you can always learn something, and if you're not learning something, you're not trying hard enough.
All
So,
right.
and I also want to listen to the people in my ward. Again, like I've tried to reiterate to people, I want to be your representative and be your voice on the council. I don't want to bring my personal agenda or a special agenda to the table. I don't think that's my job. So I'm just asking for you to get out there and rock the vote, I guess,
right.
and show up and vote.
And I want people to understand that, we as a nation have been so focused on the presidential election, but we don't realize how important it is to vote local as well, because the local people are going to eventually influence the state, which then influences the national. So we have to vote local. Vote for your state your city and county representatives, and then your state representatives, and then of course the president is important too, but state and local, state, city, and county are very, very, very important as well.
Definitely.
And KLK has been providing platforms for all the candidates. We've invited every candidate, so stay tuned up until election day. There are more interviews to come, and I really thank you for joining us.
Oh, not a problem. I've enjoyed it.
Okay, so, and just to let you all know that the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council and KLK does not support or endorse any candidate. No compensation was made for this interview. This interview was provided for informational purposes only. If you would like to get to know more about Mr. Sharp, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook page. I've got a Facebook page set up for my candidacy. It's Terry K. Sharp for City Council, and then they could always call me on my private line. So, and I'll be glad to give you that number. It's 870-761-0373. I don't call myself a lot. So.
Okay. All right. You've been listening to Community Conversations. Have a very blessed day.